Good evening, and thank you very much for, on behalf of Veterans in Politics International, for coming in this evening. Just real quick, I do want to let all the viewers and listeners know that this is being sponsored by Patsy Brown, who is running for Clark County Public Administrator. We'll start off by each one of the panel members will give you a 30-second introduction of ourselves. And then after that, then we'll start the question and answer period. Once we ask you a question, then you'll have a minute and a half to respond. Right after we get done introducing ourselves, I'll give you a minute and a half to introduce yourself and tell us what you're running for and why you want our endorsement. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Jim Jonas. I'm Director of Veterans in Politics International, and I also co-host our podcast with Steve Sanson.
My name is Stephanie Phillips, and I've lived in Las Vegas almost 30 years. And I am the owner and broker of Cambridge Realty and been in real estate 30 years as well. I have 2 kids. They're 17 and 20, and I'm happy to be here.
My name is Robert Faust. I am a third-generation conscripted Vietnam veteran. My grandfather was a World War I. My father was a World War II. After the war, I played 10 years of professional baseball. I authored 2 books, and I spent 4 years in penitentiary for drug smuggling.
Hi, my name's Gianno Amato. I'm from Henderson, Nevada. I've lived here all my life. I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay, David, if you want to go ahead and give a minute and a half introduction of yourself. And can you do me a favor? Can you also give the boundaries of State Senate District 2, Nevada State Senate District 2? I know it's tough, but just generally what area it is.
Okay. So my name is David Gomez. I'm running for Senate State District 2. Those borderlines go between Charleston up to, I believe it is Hollywood. Crosses Hollywood down to Lake Mead. Lake Mead crosses over Nellis, going north to Craig, I believe it is, coming back down to Las Vegas Boulevard. Somewhere around there, and then goes all the way back down Las Vegas Boulevard to back to Charleston. So I'm a father of 6 children. I've been a resident of Clark County for about 20 years. I started coming out here because my father is a corporate owner of Carpeteria, which had 70 stores across the U.S. They're billionaires, not me. I was the president of Wake Up with the late Marzette Lewis of Wake Up, which West Side Action Alliance Corp. was uplifting Black people in the west side of Las Vegas. I'm still currently the president of Nevada Peace Alliance. I worked in legislation on education, and I'm also a former international world champion in martial arts. And the reason I'm running is because I want to see change, because I live in that area, number one. Number two, I see nothing happening and nothing has changed in the east side of Las Vegas. We have nothing but turmoil, suffrage, and everything else. And no one seems to care about those problems. Everyone just seems about making a new law that they assume that helps people in those areas, but it doesn't at times.
All right, well, I'll start with my first question then. So once you get elected, you will have, I believe on the state Senate side, it's 5 BDRs that you can propose. What would be the first one you would propose and why?
Well, I'm not too familiar with BDRs. And the reason why I'm not familiar with it, because I spend 90% of my time in education. Now, if I need to find out what the BDRs are, I would talk with someone like Aram, my campaign manager, and people like you guys that are going to explain to me what it is that we need to look at and what we need to fix. This is something new to me, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I know everything, because then that just makes me look like a donkey at times. And I don't want to say the other word, but, it's just the laws and proposals of laws. It's based on people and how it's going to help those people. So whatever law that they allow me to do, or whatever 3 that I get to pick from, I'm going to make sure and ensure that those 3 are the benefit for everyone, especially in my area as well as my Senate district.
What's your opinion of the voting laws that the Democrats have changed?
Well, I don't want to point fingers, but I'm not happy with it. All these mail-in votes and these things where people can double vote and things like that. I'm not too pleased with that because everybody's entitled to one vote and one vote only. And that's how it should be. We shouldn't have ways and regulations that make scapegoats or ways that we can change the way people vote, whether they're Democrat or Republican or nonpartisan or anybody. It's just the way that they're structuring things. I'm not pleased because it's into their benefit. It's not to the benefit of fair voting practices. And fair voting practices has just kind of been eliminated with these type of things that they're doing.
So would you lead the charge to change that, to get rid of the ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots and all that?
I would lead a charge what's going to be fair for everyone. It's not going to be just because I'm Republican and I want it my way and I want it for Republicans only or I want it for independents only. Yes, I will lead a charge to push with the help of others that are on board with the same exact agenda and how we all feel about those things and changing things to make sure that we fix it because it has to be a fair voting practice. We cannot look at it and say, okay, we're going to do as we please. That doesn't work for anyone.
So what religion are you, and would you allow religion to play any part in any of your decisions?
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
What religion are you? And would you allow religion to play any part in your decisions?
Religion-wise, I have no religion. I have a God and I have a Jesus, and that's what I believe in. And I stick by those terms, As far as my affiliation with the religion, I am LDS affiliated. But nevertheless, I always rely on God and Jesus because true religion is those who serve the people, the orphans and the widows. And, there will be a point where religion will not exist at one point because the true worshipers will worship in spirit and truth.
Okay, so I got another question for you then. Okay, so I do understand the question of BDRs as it's kind of a tough one, but they're budget draft requests.
Okay.
And you'll get 5 of them. And they'll explain it to you once you get elected. They actually do that. Okay. So, but my specific question for you then, in the last legislative session, there was 185 Nevada revised statutes passed in 160 days at the state legislature. Would you be willing to propose a budget draft request that instead of passing new laws, maybe we should pass a law that says, let's look at all the NRS statutes that aren't working, get rid of them first, and then think about proposing more bills?
Yes, I would look at that preview. I would want to go back and visit the language and figure out what works and what doesn't work. As far as I go back to my first statement, I don't know everything. So I depend on the people and the people itself to help me understand these laws. People that work in this tirelessly every single day, like I worked in education, fighting against the grain and everything else. I would need people with sound minds, because this is what's going to help me fix a lot of those things. And I would propose that we go back and get rid of some of these old laws that don't work for us as Nevadans, because it has to work at the structure of how we're going to fix this problem, not propose 100 and so many laws and then pass them within an X amount of days and then say, hey, we have new NRSs or this is what's going to happen. And I don't believe in that. I believe that we should visit a lot of things, revisit a lot of laws and figure out what is and what isn't working.
Okay. My question is, It has to do with, so you said you rely on people, right?
Yes.
If you were in a situation, would you rely on words or would you rely on evidence?
I would rely on evidence, but I have to listen to the words to find the evidence. Number one, I can't go and say, okay, well, we're gonna base on this evidence that I found. I need people to give me their testimonies of examples of what has happened. Then I would have to go back and say, okay, now we need to find the evidence that proves that this has happened and what's being structurally in sound or not sound with what is and what isn't. Now, as far as relying on people, like I said, I would go back to people that work in that area. Like I work in education, so I can mention a lot of things about education that a lot of people don't know. But as well, I would rely on someone like Steve Sanson, to tell me, hey, this is what's going on. Do you have people that we can all sit down at what we would call a round table? I don't know what they'll call it today, but we'll sit at a table and say, let's go over this, let's write on this, and let's figure this out and get the facts together.
Okay, perfect. My next question is, if there is no evidence, I guess it wouldn't exist. Do you think that the last election was stolen?
Do I believe that the last election is stolen? I believe that it was skewed. And I believe it was skewed to the point where people were doing things that were illegal and doing things that were not fair and the fair practice of voting laws. Do I believe, as far as if you're referring to the previous president, Donald Trump, do I believe the election was stolen? I believe that sometimes people do things and they do the wrong things. And sometimes they do it in a mannerism that's not consistent with what our beliefs are as American citizens and also as Clark County residents.
Speaking of education, what do you think is the biggest problem with Clark County education or Nevada's education system? And what would you do to change it and make it better?
Changing it requires all of us, number one. It doesn't require me. I've built schools with other people's money. I fought against a lot of different naysayers. But what can we change? Well, number one, we need to appoint trustees. We don't need voted in members of trustees. Why? Because the accountability is not there. When people complain to ethics about these trustees, they tend to say, okay, here's your slap on the hand, have a nice day. And that doesn't work. There has to be a form of accountability, with these things. And then those ones have to keep everyone else in accountability. Would I change? That would be one of the things I would propose to whoever the governor is, that we need to do and make a change in that manner. And then we need to work at structuring the districts where it's fair, and we can probably look at different options of releasing some of these areas to some of the cities that want to deal with this. Like, for instance, Moapa, they're left behind. They're always in the dark. They don't get buses. They don't get anything. And then everybody just says, oh, well, that's just Moapa. Who cares? And that's not okay. That's not okay. We have to ensure that the change is for children and the continuity of who we are. Because if we have a failing system, we're number 48, I believe it is, but we have some more other states, or we have Puerto Rico and I believe somewhere else, we'll probably be number 52, who knows. But how we're going to fix this problem is that we all have to come together to fix this problem and make solutions that are going to be better for us and our children. And as a father of 6 children, I have watched this thing spiral downhill every single day without no recourse. Nobody doesn't have to follow the laws. You're looking at a person that is our superintendent of schools, and he's saying, oh, well, what is SOT teams, or what is this, or what is that? And he's barely learning these things. And he comes in and maybe he tips over the apple cart and says, well, I want to do it my way. And it's not like that. We don't do things that way. We have to fix and structurally fix these things so that we can have a better educational system. Can I fix it by myself? No, I cannot. Can I fix it with your help and everyone else's help? Yes, I can.
Do you believe in school choice?
I do believe in school choice. Parents should have a choice to choose whether they want to send their kids to charter school, private school, or CCSD school, and the money should follow the child. It shouldn't be, okay, it's going here on count day, or it's going over there, and then once the child leaves, we don't care if that kid leaves the school or not. We'll unenroll them if they miss too many days or whatever the case might be, because they already have the money, and that's not okay. That's not fair. I don't agree with that, and I agree that parents should have a choice in what they want and what they believe for their children, what's best for their children, because I'm a father. And my oldest son is a retired Marine. Well, I wouldn't say retired. I just said he didn't reinstate himself, but he did his 4 years and he's done, and he says, I'm done. I've been all over the world. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I didn't like sleeping on the ground, but oh well, but this is the way it is. And, as a father, I care about what happens to my child. So obviously I'm going to care about what happens to someone else's child.
Do you think the teachers should interject themselves into race with children, especially like second and first graders? I mean, a boy's a boy and a girl's a girl. That's the way I like it.
So your question is interject on their identity?
Yeah.
So the identity thing, and just because I believe in what I believe, and my spirituality is intact with that. I believe God made Adam and Eve, and that was a male and female. Now, if you want to call yourself a cat, a dog, a frog, a him, a her, a shim, or whatever you want to call yourself, hey, that's more power to you. But don't enforce it on our teachers. They understand curriculum to a certain extent based on what the Nevada Department of Education has issued. But don't start to interject these acronyms or whatever that is to them and say, you're going to have to do this, or we're going to sue you, or we're going to fire you. They didn't sign up for that. They didn't sign up to get a job as a teacher so that someone can say, oh, you didn't call my daughter a him. Like, give me a break. That has to stop. You have to cut that out. We're educating children. We're not worried about identity of each and every person and how they identify themselves. If a black guy comes up to me and say, hey, what's up, dog? I'm a dog. I'm not going to get offended by it, but at the same time, I'm going to say, hey, my name is David. How you doing? And at that token, whether they can respect it or not, I'm not going to go and say, I'm going to sue you. And I hope that you lose your job and you're biased and you're racist against my identity or whatever the case might be.
Okay. So my next question. Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. So my next question is, what is the number one concern besides education in State Senate District number 2?
Man, okay. Oh, man. Homelessness. Violence, yes, absolutely. Violence is one of them. And, a lot of problems that we have in there are gang issues. You have one Hispanic gang on one side of the street, the other one on the other side of the street. Just the other day, I was talking to my strategist here, and we were talking about how I witnessed a bunch of guys just shooting each other, and I got the video and everything, and it was sad. And I had to talk to North Las Vegas police about it. Violence, we have to target. We have to figure out how we're going to get them guns out of their hands, because guns don't kill people. People kill people. And, you can complain about guns all you want. It's just that dumb people do dumb things. And that's just the truth. Homelessness, we need to work on, mental health, and setting up a bus or some kind of mobile home or tractor trailer with dragging something down the street on Owen saying, hey, everybody, come on over here. Come put your name on this list, put your birthday and whatever social security number you have left. We're going to treat you for 1 week and bye. See you in a couple of years or a year or so. And that's not treating the problem. They're doing things where they're aiding the symptom, not the illness. And by aiding the symptom and not the illness, we'll never have a resolve for many of these problems. I worry about, certain things like how people are worried about immigration, because I'm part Latino, part Black. I'm a Blaxican, as people like to call me. It's funny, but I look at it and I say, let's give them the opportunity to prove themselves. Let them show us, and we'll help them all the way. My office has been doing that for now, I don't know, about 7 years. And we've been doing paperwork pro bono for a lot of people. And we say, here, don't worry about it. You don't have the money. Don't worry about it. Just pay your dues to the federal government and get your paperwork in order and get your stuff in order. So yeah, there's a lot of those issues there, and they don't see, it's almost like hopelessness. It's hopeless. And they're just saying, oh, well, who cares? Nobody cares about me. I don't care. But you got to show them that you really do care and that you really want to be their senator and you really want to make a difference for them and you really want to make a pathway for everyone to stop this violence, to end homelessness, to give them a pathway to do the right thing. And that's what we should do. We shouldn't be worried about partisan politics. We should be worrying about how we can work together to fix these problems.
Okay, so my next question has to do with guns and schools.
Okay.
What do you think of the gunmen, right? So you got these gunmen that go in these schools and, they shoot these schools up. What do you think about teachers that are trained having weapons to be able to protect our children?
I think it's a great idea. I really do. But I also talked with Mr. Landing, and we had a very good conversations about vets in schools. We have veterans that are qualified. They're highly qualified to be able to respond to these type of things. If we can have dads in schools that try to, at Desert Oasis, I believe it is, to try to eliminate fights and violence in the schools, we can have vets in schools. And they're vetted already. They can have guns. They can be qualified. We can get them through the system. And then we do it like a wraparound service with police services so that they're trained with the police services, but they're a different entity within itself to help in that violence. So stop those type of things. Active shooters. I don't want to give my kid a bulletproof backpack to go to school and worry about whether they're going to get shot in the back or something, and should teachers be vetted to have them? Yes, I believe some do, but we have to also make sure that we do a mental stability check on these people too, because I just don't want to hand a gun and say, here you go. There's a 9mm hollow point, see somebody coming in, shoot. No, I don't want somebody that is not mentally sane or stable to be able to handle a gun that can't even comprehend how the usage of a gun should be used.
Yeah, good answer.
Speaking of guns, what do you think about the red flag laws and how broad they are?
Our country were based on guns. We had, I believe it was the Japanese admiral when he attacked Pearl Harbor. And I believe, I can't verbatimly quote what I'm going to say, but I know it's something similar. Behind every reed of grass, there was a rifle, And our country, our defense mechanism from us being invaded by, I don't know who could ever come in here and invade us. But if that was a possibility, I would want guns in the hands of people. All these laws they're trying to create to end the ownership of guns or get rid of ARs or get rid of certain type of weapons, or banning certain things, I'm not for that, because who we are as a people that were structurally we were sound when we fought against those who oppressed us. So by taking away these things, creating these laws and doing things to rob us of our inalienable right as under the Constitution to have bear arms, that's just something that I don't agree with, because now they're just finding ways to skew and mess up the Constitution of the United States of America, and which we all should believe in.
Okay, I just need you to clarify a couple of your answers for me. So earlier, when you were talking about school board trustees, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So you said school board trustees should be appointed, not elected, and that would actually help with accountability. How so?
Well, obviously, now people can complain to a governor, not an ethics board that just kind of slap everybody on the hand for the past God knows how long. I don't even know how many times it's just been slapping hands all day. When somebody says something out of context or they do things that are just out of character, period, as a trustee. Because I don't want to mention people or names or anything like that. But there's enough evidence out there to look at it to figure that out. And by having someone appointed by the governor and creating this panel of people, whether it's a committee or a commission or something, that they have to answer to when things like this happen, when people complain about trustees, they will be held accountable or relieved of their position, and somebody else will be an interim and put in that place until we can find someone that's going to be suitable for that position to represent the constituents of that district.
Okay, thank you for that. So I also got to follow up with another answer you gave. So when Stephanie asked you about how you felt about these red flag laws, but then at the same time, you also basically led me to believe that you're for background checks. So can you just clarify exactly what your position is on that?
So background checks, I don't believe in background checks. Okay. It's a constitutional right to bear arms. I mean, obviously we have to go back to common sense law at that point. What is common sense on this matter? I do believe that we should have some type of stability check or something to prove that this person is stable. I don't want everybody coming out of the mental facility saying, hey, I got a gun now, and that's not okay, because they're in there for a reason, because they need help and assistance and they need rehabilitation back into society. So am I saying that do a background check to figure out if they've been in there? No, there's just different ways that we can structure things to figure out who can have a gun and who cannot have a gun. Obviously, I had a friend that just committed suicide the other day, which was really sad. He was not stable. How he got his hand on the gun was he went and got his wife's gun, and he shot himself in the head in the bathroom, which was traumatic. And I've been knowing this guy for God knows how long. But I wouldn't want him to have a gun and be walking around and saying, hey, you know what? I got a gun, and if I see a bad guy and he can't determine who is a bad guy or who is a combatant to our country, then, I don't want him just shooting everybody, obviously. Would you be in favor of a desalination plant to help the water issues? Oh, yes. Yes, I would. Yeah, I would like to see something like that. Obviously, California has their own complaints about those things with the salt, saying that if they throw the salt back into the ocean, something's going to throw the ecosystem off, which I don't get, because it came out of the ocean and the ecosystem has already had that percentage of content of salt in there already. But would I support something like that? Absolutely, to help with this water issue. I think it would help solve a lot of those issues. But I also think that we need to revisit on how we're building out here. That we just can't be pouring out water out the Yahoo and just saying, okay, we're going to build 500 golf courses, or 4 million mansions or something like that. We need to have a structural way of looking at how we waste our water and how we use our water. I know that they have these plans in order with the water district saying that, water this day, water that day, do this, do that. We have to teach water conservation. I mean, you go to Japan or China, they have water conservations. Nobody complains. Everybody understands and they all work together to conserve water. But yeah, I would support something like that with those type of things that will take the salt and the contents out of the seawater to give us back water that we need.
Do you consider yourself an America First candidate?
An America First candidate? I consider myself a God First candidate, then an American First candidate.
And if Trump were running in 22, would you vote for him?
Would I vote for Donald Trump? Yes, I would vote for Donald Trump. And I would do it with my eyes closed. I'm so tired of seeing these structures of promises and dead-end promises. And we own a tax business too. So I wasn't too happy with them forcing Americans to get health care insurance, or I'm going to penalize you because you don't do what I say to do. Yes, I believe that, the things that he stood for, regardless of what people complained about him, were sound. And he stood for the people, and he wanted people to have all the choices that they needed.
What do you think about the national debt, and what would you do to start repaying it?
Wow, it is not raising taxes and it's not adding taxes at the pump. That's one thing that's not going to happen. But as far as the national debt, I think we're so far in the hole, it's going to take us a long time to fix that problem.
Would you go so far as to hold China partly responsible for the pandemic and make them pay?
So, yes, I know in Wuhan, I believe that's where it was developed, because I think it was the Department of Justice did catch a bunch of people from China here in the U.S. that were posing as like professors, scientists, and things like that, and taking some of this stuff back with or stealing it. I would just say that, because they didn't have permission. I don't remember them giving them permission. But yes, I would hold them accountable and say, listen, these problems we wouldn't have to face, because if you guys were not playing God over there and messing around with things you have no business in, releasing things into the public, then yes, we wouldn't have these issues. But I would hold them responsible and say, you would have to pay for this. I wouldn't play the blame game, and I wouldn't just, well, I blame you, I blame you, I blame you. No, I'm just saying, listen, you did wrong and this is what it is. And please, we're going to work this way out and we're going to make sure this is done correctly. And you're going to help what you have created. You're going to fix what you created.
So on that point, talking about you're going to fix what you created. So the area, your district, I'm very familiar with, okay? And there's some pretty rough areas, right, in that district. In those areas, if you knew where, let me say, the meanest person in the whole town in your district lived, right? The rich, and at the same time, they were the richest, but they knew where your family was. Would you dare ever go bully them?
Would I go and bully them? Absolutely not, just because of my belief. I would go talk to them, and I would talk about some of the things that matter and where we live. So if that person is in that area, obviously he's sharing the same area with me. And we would talk about some of the things that, that are, if he's the meanest person there, obviously I would be sad and tell him, I feel bad that you're this way or whatever, but whatever you need from me, I'll be glad to help you. But at the same token, you got to put your hand in this pot too. We got to work together. I'm not going to sit there and go over there and bully him and start saying, hey, you know what, you did this, you did that. Or I'm not too good with the blame game, because every time I point one finger, there's three pointing back at me.
Okay, great. So basically you would not go bully somebody like that. Is there a possibility, right, that we got hit with the pandemic because somebody went and bullied a country that was, over 1 billion people, and, that was worth, over $1 trillion, right, because they wanted to prove a point and they wanted to show everybody, right, they're the tough guy, and they want to show everybody, right, that it's all about them. This is the way I do it, right? So hell with America, hell with what everybody else is going to go through. Is there a possibility, do you think, that the pandemic was created because somebody didn't bother even thinking about what we were going to have to deal with, right? What do you think about that?
Do I believe that the pandemic was created? Yes, I do believe it was created. There was too many warning signs, and it was kind of strange to hear the president, I think his name was Obama, and he said, oh, we're going to have a pandemic. Well, what the heck? Now we have a pandemic. Somebody did it. Somebody created it. You just can't make mention of something and hope that nobody catches on to what you're saying.
Okay, what about our last president, though? Do you think like he could have went over there and bullied people?
I don't believe Donald Trump bullied them. I believe that he told them, we're not going to pay you no more. We're not going to give you this. We're not going to do that. We're not doing this. This is America's money. We're tired of sending this money out. We're tired of doing this. We're tired of paying for this. And we get no result from this. We are always getting the short end of the stick. We're always the ones that are always left behind and forking out the bill for everybody. Yeah, he said, I'm tired of it. I would say I'm tired of it too. I'm tired of paying certain type of taxes on a computer every single year, for whatever reason, whatever they're collecting it for.
Was he smiling when he said that?
Was he smiling?
Yeah.
Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I don't recall him smiling, but I recall him being assertive and being serious about what he believed in. And I believe that he believed that that was unfair to who? Not to him. He's a billionaire. It's to the people that he represented. That's who it was unfair to. It was unfair to the low class person. It was unfair to the middle class person. It was unfair to a lot of people that were struggling on a daily basis to fork out money for other countries and other issues. And that was just one of them that he said, heck to the no.
Okay, thank you, David. So now back to some more state questions. One of the issues that we face right now with gas prices on a state level, and I've heard this proposed before. It was about a week ago, and I'd never heard anybody propose it before. But he's running for governor and talking about actually putting a moratorium for right now on state gas tax to try to help alleviate some of these gas prices. What do you think about that?
I believe that we should run that route because the cost of crude oil, I believe it's $100 a barrel. I believe it is. I don't know I don't keep up with the stock markets and all those things. But as far as what they're paying for it and what it produces from it, it's the same cost. So why do I go to Chevron on one corner and my diesel is $5.39 and I go to the next corner and it's $5.69? Well, obviously there's some kind of inflation there that somebody else is benefiting from, and it's not because of the rise of gas or crude oil or things like that. But would I support something like that? Yeah, because I don't like going to two different gas stations and seeing like two different prices.
Okay, so I just got one more follow-up to that, though, because I'm going to get in trouble if I don't ask this follow-up question. I think most people are in agreement that gas prices are out of control. And whenever I bring this question up, they're like, well, absolutely, we would do that. But here's my follow-up question to that. If we do suspend the state gas tax, even for, let's just say, a month, right? We're going to lose transportation money, and we're going to have to make up for it somewhere on the back end, right? So where then would we replace that money that the state is now not getting for those 30 days or however long we suspend the gas tax?
I believe we have enough surplus to last 30 days. I really do. I mean, 30 days is really not going to kill or make or break anybody at that capacity. Where would they make up the money? I'm not going to say let's go to the DMV and raise more taxes on that end to kind of compensate on that, because most people are not paying their fair share. Most people are in this state driving with all different types of license plates, but if we could figure out a way where we could make it up, or we can get it back at a later time where we can work this out, then yeah, it would be good so that we can help the people, because you got to remember, we're representing constituents. We're not representing corporations.
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, you guys good? All right, David. Well, thank you very much for answering the question. Sorry, it's late. So now I'll give you 2 minutes to go ahead and close. Just why people should vote for you. Please get out and give out all your contact information, campaign information, whatever you want to say. And if you just look straight into that camera.
Okay. So why should people vote for me? Well, they should vote for me because I care. I'm passionate about my area. I've been working there for God knows how long. Well, the number of years has been almost 20 years. And I want to make sure and ensure that I work for the people to help with this homeless issue, because this is an issue with all of us in that area. It could be the whole entire areas that I don't even know about. As far as helping immigrants get the right things in order, that's important to me. I don't just want to take people and throw them out the country and say, you're a criminal for crossing a border or whatever the case might be. They might be running from some kind of death or something that's going to happen to them. As far as the education, I want to work on the education practices and get things in order so that we can get out of number 49 and get somewhere in the 30s and 20s so that we have something that attracts more businesses to our state. My information as far as my phone number is 702-218-8891. My email is info@davidgomezcorp.com. And you can also reach me at my office because if I am voted in, I'm going to be one of those type of senators. You can come right into my office and talk to me at any given time. My address is 133 Northeastern Avenue, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89101.
Thank you very much, David. And that concludes our endorsement interview for Nevada State Senate District Number 2.